The deal between the Saudis and the PGA Tour is not done yet. In fact, there's a bit of a snag. And what is that snag, you ask? There's some new developments here. If you've not been following the story, perhaps not. It's starting to get pretty good. It was good when it started, and now we've added on a little extra sugar. So if you haven't been following along, now we've learned the PGA Tour commissioner, the head weasel, Jay Monahan, has penned a letter, is not a love note, a letter to Congress that his organization is sending out in the ethos here, that the alignment the PGA is about to undergo with the LIV Golf folks, the Public Investment Fund known as the PIF. It's kind of PIF we would all like to have, the Public Investment Fund, the sovereign wealth fund of your oil money in Saudi Arabia. They say, the PGA, in this letter, the guy running the PGA said, it is not a merger. It is not a merger. This seemingly open letter, it ended up in the media. It wouldn't end up in the media unless somebody leaked it to the media. So the open letter, which popped up at a couple of news outfits, said, this is from Jay Monahan, the guy in charge of the PGA. Let me be clear that despite numerous reports, this arrangement is not a merger between the PGA Tour, LIV Golf, and the PIF. Monahan writing to members of the political class. But wait, there's more. He also claimed that the inaction from Congress forced the PGA's hand, playing the victim, blaming Congress in not helping the PGA Tour in their fight with the LIV Golf people. In fact, that part of the letter, as it continues, quote, we were largely left on our own to fend off the attacks, ostensibly, Jay Monahan, the head of the PGA, wrote, due to the United States' complex geopolitical alliance in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which is code for, you're doing it too. That's what that's code for. This left, according to the letter, the very real prospect of another decade of expensive and distracting litigation and the PGA Tour's long-term existence under threat. Close quote from the letter the PGA Tour's president, Jay Monahan, the commissioner of the PGA Tour, wrote. So let us discuss the question. All right, what is the PGA commissioner, Jay Monahan, hoping to accomplish with this letter getting out in the public? So I've got bloodhounds, jumbotron, and piranhas. And we will combine all of these things together, and we are going to make over $600 billion, which is what the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund is up to, the PIF. Wow. All right, so first of all, the PGA's claim. Let's break this down brick by brick. So the PGA claims that it reached the deal with the LIV/Saudis to avoid legal bills. Been open about that. I've seen that in multiple media reports. It's in this letter that was sent to some politicians. Now, that is only partially true, right? The legal fight, though, is far from over. So the idea that you're avoiding legal bills, well, yeah, you're not going to be the one that's paying the legal bills, but here's the way I see this now. We are far from the bottom of the ninth inning. We're probably in the third inning or so of a 9-inning game, and we might have extra innings as well. We could have extra innings. But here's the deal. All the documents have not been notarized. They have not. The T's have not been crossed. The I's have not been dotted on the agreement. And this, by the PGA, is a preemptive strike by the commissioner of the PGA. Why is this a preemptive strike? It's a good question. The reason why is because there are a bunch of United States senators right now that have released the bloodhounds, and they're sniffing around at this PGA deal with the Saudi Wealth Fund, right? They're kicking the tires on this. They're seeing what this is all about. And Jay Monahan is attempting It's a futile attempt, but he's attempting to avoid antitrust litigation. That's what this is all about. Now, the one leading the charge, and I'll give you an example here. There's a senator named Richard Blumenthal. He's a Democrat from Connecticut. And he sent a letter to the LIV CEO, Greg Norman. All right, so Greg Norman's still tied to this and requested documents, a lot of them, not just a couple, tons of documents and other information related to the formation agreement between the PGA and the Saudis. Now, this guy has some power. Blumenthal, he's on the Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee, which sounds very important. I don't really know what that does, but it sounds important. And he's also the chairman of the Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations, which also sounds scary. If you get investigated by the government, that sounds scary. If you've ever been audited by the IRS, you know what I'm talking about. But just imagine that on the next level. And so anyway, this guy, political hack, came out and said he had concerns over the Saudi government's role in influencing the effort with the PGA, and talked about this being one of the cherished American institutions, et cetera, et cetera. Is the PGA Tour a cherished American institution? I don't know about that. All right, so listen. All of this is being telegraphed. It's all being telegraphed on both sides. It's all well scripted. You've got the PGA preemptive strike. You've got the politicians who are involved in this, and they want some skin. They got a little skin in the game. They want more skin. Now, page 2 here. Where do you see this PGA agreement with the Saudis going next? So next is a little commune called Nastyville. It is going to get nasty. That's what's next in the near future as this thing continues to get dragged out between the PGA and the United States government. Why? It is a political hot potato, and when you talk about politicians, if you want to know what gets their attention, you always have to look at the Jumbotron. What gets political points? And this is something that will resonate with many men, women, and children who are just regular working stiffs. And they will see this and they're like, you know what? Yeah, the government should be attacking the PGA, taking that money from the Sovereign Wealth Fund. Meanwhile, 99.999999% of people would do the same damn thing. Right? We all know human nature. We're all wired the same way. I don't care where you're from, where you grew up, what country you're from, whether you're from the States or anywhere else. That everyone's got their price. And the PGA had their price, but it comes down to politicians, and I keep going back to the Jumbotron and political points. So you can get points even if the same people that are complaining would be the same people cutting checks or taking checks. It doesn't matter, right? And so this guy Blumenthal requesting this massive pile of documents, which goes from like the state of Maine through Hawaii and then down across the Pacific to just far out. Guam, I think Guam is where it stops, which is American territory. So it just keeps going and going and going. Now, what those documents include, we are told that those documents include in its entirety all communications between the PGA and the Saudis, including email, the WhatsApp messages, text messages, calendar invites, voicemails, you name it. Any communication, all records related to any of the negotiations between the Saudi government, which is the LIV people, and the PGA Tour, and also the governor of the Public Wealth Fund for the Saudis, he's been involved in this as well. The tour commissioner, Jay Monahan, his name has popped up, obviously, and all responses. This is a major bureaucracy situation. Like the red tape on this is massive, massive amounts of red tape. So what happens? Get to the point, please. So what happens here? The Senate, right? They could then, let's say the Saudis say we're not interested because it's just a request at this point. So they could technically decline it, as I understand it. And they say, well, we're just not giving you the documents. Go pound sand. Get out of here. We're done. So if that happens, then at that point, the politicians can say, okay, you've declined. We tried to play nice. You wouldn't play along with us. And so then the Senate could then issue subpoenas and threaten contempt and criminal charges for noncompliance to the PGA and the officials from the LIV group. And that means Greg Norman could be compelled to go and testify. And the guy that's in charge for Saudi Arabia, who's bankrolling everything, he's in charge of the money, that guy could be called out. Jay Monahan could all be demanded to appear as witnesses and have to testify under oath. All right, final thought on this. The PGA not out of the woods yet with this LIV golf deal, not by a long shot. So the final part of this, what are the odds at this point? We like to play the odds game. What are the odds at this point that the deal between the PGA and the Saudis/LIV ends up happening? So I'm going to set the Maller Sportsbook odds on this at plus 150. And I'm going plus 150. That implies a 40% chance, which means there's a 60% chance this goes kaput. But I'm going 40% chance now. Listen, in baseball parlance, if you are down by a run, you have the bases loaded, 2 out in the bottom of the 9th inning, and you've got a 400 hitter up, you're thinking you're in pretty good shape. Now, if you have a 600 hitter up, you're in even better shape. But I'm going with the 400 hitter. I think there's a plus 150 chance, a 40% chance that this works out and this deal is done. There's a lot of moving parts to it. The main reason why, though, I call it the piranha factor. I call it the piranha factor because when politicians smell blood in the water, then watch out, right? They're like piranhas. They got the sharp teeth and they latch on. But there's also something that is a placebo for politicians, and I'm not sure how this would work because it's a foreign entity. But one thing I know about political weasels is they love donations. So if somehow the Saudi government can siphon money through some other way to get to the politicians, then the politicians will back down. They always back down in the end.